We're going to start off on last week's games for a trip to the conference championship on both sides. And let's start with the Broncos and the Bills, guys. So many storylines coming from here, Malik. It was a wild one, man. This was supposed to be the year that the Bills got over the hump. This was the year that Mahomes was out of the way, Joe Burrow was out of the way, Lamar Jackson was out of the way, and we were going to see the Bills take that step. And it all came crumbling down fast, guys. And right now in Buffalo, things are getting even crazier because since the end of the game, we've seen the firing of Sean McDermott. And today, I don't know if you heard, did you hear Terry Pagula, the owner? Because Brandon Beane, the general manager, has been getting a ton of flack. Terry Pagula, during a press conference, kind of jumped over him just to kind of like cover him a little bit at the expense of Keon Coleman. Were you able to hear that?
Oh, yeah, I checked it out. This pretty rough for Keon Coleman. I think he had a pretty rough season this year. So
yeah,
him dealing with all of that and hearing that from top down has to affect him or something.
Yeah, 100%. You're invested in this guy. You would think that after a tough season, you would hope that your guys would take up for you and kind of give you that sense of confidence that maybe you didn't get from your game this year. But if we have the audio, can we run that? This is Brandon Beane talking about the season, and then the owner on the other side is Terry Pagula, and he's going to chime in with his thoughts on the whole thing. Let's run that thing real quick.
Yeah, can I interrupt? I'll address the Keon situation. The coaching staff pushed to draft Keon. I'm not saying Brandon wouldn't have drafted him, but he wasn't his next choice. That was Brandon being a team player and taking advice of his coaching staff, who felt strongly about the player. And you know, he's taken, for some reason, heat over it and not saying a word about it. But I'm here to tell you the true story.
All right, so we can cut that there. So what he's basically saying for anybody at home that doesn't know is he's basically saying his player that was drafted by the general manager sitting next to him was not the general manager's choice. He was, in fact, the fired coaching staff's choice. So how do you think that makes Keon Coleman feel, man, coming into next year with the same GM, and he's got to be in that building still?
Oh, man, that has to be rough. Like, now you feel unwanted. Like, you're dealing with all this pressure from being bumped out of the playoffs, how everybody may feel maybe too early, and now you got to deal with this situation. And he's had a rough season this year. Like, if you see his stats here, he's hasn't barely cracked the top 100 in a lot of these stats, and they expected him to do a lot more for this team and contribute a lot more and eventually be Josh Allen's number one guy. But some things happened. He didn't quite fulfill that role. And hopefully he either uses his fuel to keep going and prove everybody wrong and show them that he belongs on this team.
Yeah, I think he's a great case of like confidence in athletes, because when he came in, his first couple of games, he got out of the gates real hot, and he seemed like he was feeding off that. You've seen him before a couple of times. He's a big, like, he's almost like a character. Like, he's a character guy. So he's one of those guys that could really feel that if he's being instilled love and confidence in. He had a funny clip go viral during the combine of him talking about being Tiger Woods, but Tiger, I wish I could. He said, I'm not Tiger Woods, I wish I could.
Yeah.
So it seemed like the staff really liked him and they were behind him. But yeah, this has gotten ugly quick in Buffalo, and we'll follow up on that as it happens. But guys, let's get to the game now, right? We got to address the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is this. So the Josh Allen delivers a strike in overtime to Brandon Cooks. All right, this is the biggest play in sports right now. I saw it 100 times, and every time this to me looks like a catch. As a wide receiver, this looks like a catch. We saw in the game the next day a similar situation with Devontae Adams. Are we familiar with that? Do we have the audio, the video for that or not?
Yeah, I have that.
All right, we can play that one really quick because, guys, in this next game, this was deemed a catch. So I think the difficulty, and it's been a difficult thing in the league for probably a decade now. I think about the Dez Bryant catch a long time ago, and people don't know what constitutes a catch. And time again, it's just causing problems for everybody. This one is a stain on, I think, what was a real big game. So this happened the next day. This is Devontae Adams. He comes down with the ball, and the ball is now in the defensive back's hands for the Bears. And this is called a catch and down. So obviously it wasn't as deep as the last one, but it's the same type of play. He's coming down to the ground with control, knee is down, and there's down by contact. So I think it poses a huge problem for the league when the different groups of officials are calling games differently. It's very hard for players and coaches to adjust to that, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely thought it was a catch. It looks like a catch. According to the rules, he caught the ball, had possession, made it to the ground. His back touched the ground. He should have been down. That was it. But I don't know. Maybe there's some guys in a city on the West Coast, quite kind of close to the West Coast, who had a say on what happened.
That's an unusual suspects topic.
Yeah.
We'll keep that for unusuals. But yeah, so guys, I've watched the play a million times as a receiver. I think I watched it 100 times. I thought pick first. I thought catch. I thought pick. I thought catch. And every day, new views of this has been coming out. And as the most recent views come out, the more I think it was a catch, and I think the league got it wrong. And guys, it was a huge thing because as default, now we saw that snowball effect. Now Bills lose that game. Coach gets fired. Now Josh Allen's legacy has taken a major hit here, right? Because Josh Allen, he's an MVP caliber quarterback. He's been an MVP, and he's been one step away from the big game where his peers, Mahomes, right, and Burrow, they've been to that Super Bowl. Mahomes has won a couple. Burrow has been there, and Josh Allen is trying to crack that, he's trying to get on that level with these guys, and they've already got hardware or Super Bowl appearances, and he doesn't have that yet. So it's really starting to impact his legacy. And it doesn't do any better where he makes we talked about this a lot. Danny and I have spoken about sort of the old Josh Allen versus the new Josh Allen. The old Josh Allen would try to do too much. He'd try to do everything by himself, and often he would make that big mistake that would kind of kill the team. And we saw that. I think the biggest play of this whole game was that fumble going into the half where he was trying to scramble into like field goal range, and he was stripped only for the other team to turn around and make a field goal out of that. And they got 3 points that at the end now, when you're going to overtime, those 3 points are the difference between a win and a loss. And then you saw late in the game during a drive at the end, he missed a wide open Dalton Knox where if he would have hit him with it, he goes in for the score. So Josh Allen, who's been a top, he's a top flight quarterback. There's no question about it. One of the 2 or 3 best in the league, probably on a Hall of Fame trajectory if he can get that one win. But he takes the loss. Does this impact Josh Allen's legacy, or is this starting to get to the point now where you're like, for you to be mentioned amongst these great players, you've got to get over this hump? What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think it affects his legacy. I mean, it doesn't take away what he's contributed to the game and how far he's changed the Bills, because the Bills were the bottom of their division at one point. Now they've been consistently the leaders of that AFC East. So I don't think it doesn't necessarily take away from his game or what he's done. He's done everything in his power to get his team there. Like you see it. Like there's times you hear the guys on ESPN, they're like, oh, Josh Allen, he has to be Superman today. He has to do this. And I think that's also in his identity. And like for his team to rely on him for that, it shows a lot. But I'm going to go against myself at the same time as saying he does have to still prove himself amongst those. Like you have those playoff guys that just get there and that's it. But it's been too many times we've gotten too close. They've even changed rules to the game for this guy. Remember the whole overtime debacle with the Chiefs, how they added another possession? That was all to see Josh Allen finally get his chance to make it to the Super Bowl. And since then, he still hasn't done it. And it's rough that we have to see and wait for another season for that to happen. But I think he's going to have to take a lot of soul searching to really see what it takes for him to get past the next step, because he's done everything. So, like, what else do you want him to do? What else can he do?
Okay, so let me ask you this now. So the big rumor going around is that with Sean McDermott gone, one of the leading candidates is his old offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll, who's the former head coach for the Giants. Now, if you remember where Brian Daboll sort of cut his teeth and made a name for himself, it was with where? Do you remember? It was with Buffalo and Josh Allen as his offensive coordinator. So he's now the leading candidate to come back here and maybe kind of finish what he started. Josh Allen, that's where he sort of saw that turn, right? He was a kind of average for his first year or two. He's coming out of Wyoming. We didn't really know what we had in him. Was he outmatched? You know, you see him play on a smaller level in college, and you think that's a big step up, right, to the league. Is he one of those guys who's going to be able to make that step? And it was with Brian Daboll that change started to happen. So it'll be real interesting to see him if he's able to come back, you know? So now we go to the rest of the game, all right? So we saw the most tragic thing happen, right? So Denver gets the win as they're sort of setting themselves up for that go-ahead field goal in overtime. All-world quarterback Bo Nix is, what he's trying to do here is, for anybody at home who's not familiar, he's trying to take a couple of steps back and kneel the ball in a place that is more conducive for success for the kicker. I don't know if it's maybe to straighten it out, if maybe there's a bad piece of grass there they're trying to avoid, but he's trying to kneel the ball in a particular spot to try to set up an easier kick for the kicker to win the game. And what happens is Bo Nix takes a knee and he stands up hobbling. And we find out later that Bo Nix has fractured his ankle and his season is effectively over. So Bo Nix, the guy who's led the Broncos to the #1 seed, is now done for the year. And in for an AFC Championship and hopefully Super Bowl run comes Jarrett Stidham. Jarrett Stidham has 4 career starts. He is 1-3 in those starts, and he is now being relied upon to carry that load from Bo Nix for a number 1 seed to try to finish the job he started and take a number 1 seed to an AFC title and ultimately a Super Bowl. I don't feel great about it. Malik, your thoughts?
I'm kind of nervous for myself, but one fact that people don't know, he's a Brady disciple. He spent a year behind Tom Brady.
Okay.
So hopefully that season behind Tom Brady is enough for him to absorb some type of greatness.
Okay.
And he'll get it out of him. You see, there's other former Brady backups who haven't done too bad for themselves.
That's a fair point.
Jimmy Garoppolo got himself a contract. He started for a couple years. Remember what happened with Matt Castle?
I played with Matt Castle. He was my quarterback in Kansas City. Did
Brian
a really nice
Hoyer,
job.
he had some decent years. So
did.
like, I think maybe that Patriot way is still in his blood.
Okay.
There's something in there that might help him in that environment with the playoffs. And the Broncos is still a pretty sound team, too.
Okay, so Malik thinks there's an opportunity for Jarrett Stidham to go in there and make a name for myself. But Malik, I need you to hear me out because I, sir, have the solution. And it is either going to be the hottest take you hear on the playoffs all year, or it's going to be the most brilliant take you hear on the playoffs all year. So bear with me. So about 6 weeks ago, we saw a team in position for the playoffs lose their quarterback. They tapped in a 44-year-old Phillip Rivers to come out of retirement. And let's be real, he looked okay, right? He had a couple of games where he looked great, a couple of quarters where he looked great, a couple of games where he looked all right. He didn't really look bad or overmatched, though, right? So he comes out of retirement, and he looked fine. Now, this was made possible because Phillip Rivers was in decent shape, and Phillip Rivers was still very familiar with the offense, all right? So my question for you is, do the Denver Broncos right now tap in a 47-year-old who knows Sean Payton's offense better than Sean Payton knows his offense? He's still reasonably fit, and I need him to get me 2 games. Do the Broncos tap in Drew Brees? It's laughable, huh? Okay, Malik is laughing at Drew Brees.
That's kind of wild. That's a wild take.
It's a wild take.
I mean,
it's a wild take for sure.
Nah, I don't know. He's been out the game too long.
Okay.
Like Phillip Rivers, he's been out the game, 2 years?
5 years.
5 years?
Yeah.
Okay, Drew Brees has been out longer than that.
Well, probably like 6 or 7.
6 or 7, okay.
Okay, so here's my theory behind this, right? So what I need from Drew Brees, and this is the pros and cons, this is how I weigh it, okay? I need 8 quarters from you, Drew Brees. I need 8 quarters. You need to come in and find a way to steal me 1 game. Then you get 2 weeks if you were to win it, right, to get ready for the Super Bowl because we got a 2-week break. So he can get himself reacclimated with the offense. He can get his body in better shape. And then he comes out and tries to win a Super Bowl. It would be a story of legends. And now I ask you this. Do you not trust, because I do you not trust Drew Brees to come out and get you 1 game over Jarrett Stidham? Because that's really the equation right now. If I told you right now you had to put your life on it, Drew Brees goes and gets me 2 games after being off for 5 years or so, or Jarrett Stidham goes and gets me 2 games, you feel better about Jarrett Stidham than Drew Brees right now?
Yes, because he's had a whole season and off season to prepare. He's had time to learn the offense. He had his reps. I'm sure he's in season shape at this point. He's
in backup quarterback. I haven't played all year shape.
Yeah, but that's still better shape than the guy who's been on the couch for all these years.
Okay.
And the whole Phillip Rivers thing, that went the way it was expected to go. Especially if you look at his stats, he didn't throw for anything crazy. He didn't do anything crazy. I think he won off of the fact that the Colts were still a solid team at the time.
Sure.
But I don't see – I would trust Drew Stidham more than I would trust Drew Brees at this point.
I know my time I was in Kansas City for 5 minutes, right? I was in – let's think about my college offense, which I played in for 4 years. I remember it verbatim right now. I can get on the field, and if my coach called something, I remember it, right? And I would venture a guess that I don't know my college offense 50% of what Drew Brees knew about that New Orleans Saints offense that theoretically Sean Payton is running right now with the Broncos and Bo Nix. And I don't know, man. I think you come in there, abbreviated playbook, right? You said that the reason that the Colts were able to do it because they were still a pretty good team, right? Well, the Colts were outside of the playoffs looking in when Phillip Rivers came in, or they were like teetering on that 7 seed. This is a number 1 seed team we're talking about. This is a loaded defense. This is a good run game. So I need him to come in here and just survive. Make it through 1 week. Get me a win this 1 week. Guys, obviously a hot topic. If we think people are going to feel one way or the other, but we'd love to get you guys' thoughts in the comments, thoughts in the chats. Chime with us. Malik thinks Jarrett Stidham. I think tap in Drew Brees. What kind of story would that be? Drew Brees comes off the couch and wins 2 games, and he's a Super Bowl champion again. And he gets 5 more years of health insurance, we found out last time.
Yeah, but That's kind of rough. Like you got to think about the intensity of it too. Like the
Absolutely.
Patriots, the Mike Vrabel was going to have that team fired.
Totally.
There's
Pin
no
their
way
ears
he's
back.
going to allow some 47-year-old guy to come in and beat them.
And see, if I'm Drew Brees, though, I'm thinking about how I combat that. So they're going to pin their ears back and come at me. Cool. I'm going to throw a quick game. I'm going to go throw screens, and I'm going to establish the run. And that's what they do well in Denver. Do I think it's like a sure shot? But it's a matter of two extremes right now. Does a 1-3 all-time quarterback who started 4 games in his career over 7 years give me a better shot than first ballot Hall of Fame Drew Brees? And I particularly say, I think I can get 8 good quarters from Drew Brees before I get 8 good quarters from Jarrett Stidham. But I think it's Wednesday now. I don't think we're going to see that even be an option, but I thought it would have been a lot of fun.